Sukhi Hotu and welcome to the Buddhist Mahavihara's Facebook page. We are going live today from the Buddhist Dhamma Dana series that we hold every week. First and foremost, I wish all continued good health and safety in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. May all beings, all of you, be well, happy and peaceful during this trying period. Before we go further, we wish to recommend you to subscribe to the BMV Dhamma Dana series YouTube channel. There are almost 195 recordings of the BMV Dhamma Dana series, where a wealth of Dhamma sharing has been uploaded. And tonight, we have the valuable opportunity to listen to this interesting and very practical Dhamma topic titled Managing Stress and Emotions in Daily Life. All of us can definitely relate. Especially during this pandemic, there is a lot of stress in all forms. So this Dhamma sharing will be very useful. And it will be conducted by Dr. Sumana Ratnayaka, who has actually very recently shared another Dhamma sharing topic titled Success in Work and Life. I think just this Friday, right? Under the same BMV Dhamma Dana series. And Dr. Sumana is currently based in Sweden. And now we will get him into the studio. Good evening, Dr. Sumana.
Good evening.
And welcome again to our Buddhist Mahavihara Dhamma Dana series.
Thank you.
Thank you for graciously accepting to share the Dhamma this evening, titled Managing Stress and Emotions in Daily Life. Yeah. I think, Brother Dr. Sumana, there is a little bit of echo.
Is that so?
Yeah, I can hear. Let me
Is
see.
it?
Maybe is there something you can do to reduce the echo? Okay. So now we will read the profile of Dr. Sumana. Dr. Sumana Ratnayaka comes from Sri Lanka. Oh, still can hear the echo, lah, Dr. Sumana.
Is it from my side or from your side?
My side, basically, is only this lah.
Yeah.
Never mind. So continue. I think we just
Yeah.
continue. It's all right, lah. I think we can go with it. So, Dr. Sumana Ratnayaka come from Sri Lanka originally and is presently living in Sweden. He has experienced, or maybe I mute first. Okay. He has okay, I think this is better. I mute you first, Dr. Ratna. Okay. He has experience in teaching Buddhism at basic to advanced level classes and undergraduate to postgraduate programs in various countries. By his retirement in February 2019, he had worked for nearly 17 years as a senior lecturer in Pali and Buddhist studies at Peradeniya University. After being exposed to both various Buddhist meditation traditions and to his own self-retreats, he has been conducting meditation retreat, in fact, in several Asian and European countries since 1985, in which year he pioneered establishing Stockholm Buddhist Vihara, the first ever Sri Lankan Buddhist Vihara in Scandinavia. He has studied at Kelaniya, Uppsala, Oxford, Lund, and Peradeniya universities. He obtained his Bachelor's of Arts, a special degree from Kelaniya University, and followed by his Master's of Literature from Oxford University, and his PhD from Peradeniya University for his thesis, Mindfulness and Exploratory Study of Buddhist Meditation in Sri Lanka. Wow. A lot of achievements. So now I will hand over the studio to Dr. Sumana to begin this evening's Dhamma sharing. So, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, so I will exit from here, Dr. Sumana.
Right. So may I start with Namo Tassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear sisters and brothers of the Dhamma in Malaysia as well as other countries related to Buddhist Mahavihara in Kuala Lumpur. I mentioned in my previous talk as well that I am grateful to Venerable Dhammaratnayaka Thera and other Venerable monks of the Mahavihara, and especially Caroline Peck and Leslie, Brother Leslie, and organizing committee for inviting me again to this Dhamma talk. I should respectfully mention my gratitude to Bante Mahinda for introducing me first in 1983 to Mahavihara and the late Venerable Kesari Dhammananda Nayaka Thera. I believe that the late Venerable Nayaka Thera from any heavenly realm is still appreciating wholeheartedly the Dhamma missions that you all are carrying on. On behalf of the brothers and sisters who sponsored this Dhamma talk today, and on my own behalf, let us dedicate this Dhamma talk as well to the late Venerable. Today's topic, as Caroline already mentioned, that is managing stress and emotions in daily life, and what the Buddha discovered to achieve stress-free life. This is the major topic under which we have certain aspects to focus on. When we now talk about stress, it is not to get rid of stress that we talk about. It is to manage. To manage the stress is something important to understand. We call FFR, that is fight or flight response. That is what we normally hear in society who talks about stress. Stress-related diseases you always hear about. I mean, any disease whatsoever, doctors normally refer to that they are stress-related. So, fight to flight, I mean, when we are in society, even including animals, we all face this fight to flight response. That is how stress is created. Therefore, we can't think of getting rid of stress completely. So we need to consider that stress is something natural, something that comes, because we may have some places where we may have to run away from dangers. Sometimes we have to fight the dangers, face challenges in society. So this is natural for both human beings and other beings. Therefore, of course, we have fear sometimes, anger some of the times, sorrow, stress, and various other problems, emotionally related, problems arise. So, in relation to all these fear, anger, sorrow, etc., you find some hormones are added to our blood circulation. Anger, sorrow, doubt, various problems in society. When we face them, we hear from scientific, medical research that a lot of adrenaline and some other related hormones like cortisol are added to our blood circulation. Then our stress will become more, and they can lead to even further than stress. It could be even going into depression and even worse than depression, serious aspects of depression. I'm not going to talk on those aspects in detail now, because you read all these in the internet online, and also there are a lot of publications written by psychiatrists and psychologists and various other scholars. And on the other side, if we relax, for example, we also hear that there are some good hormones our brain releases. That is, for example, uh, what is that hormone called? When you are glad, you get some special hormone. Uh, yeah, at the moment, wait a minute, I can't remember that. Anyway, you find some good hormones are added. Anyway, we'll come up with them later. Anyway, these ways of hormones make the body either more upset or relax. Now, let us go into Buddha's response to these aspects. Buddha talks about suffering. If you summarize the entire teaching of the Buddha into two words, you can find suffering and the way out of suffering. Pubbecaham bhikkhave etarahi dukkhañca paññavemi dukkasaca nirodham. This is a reference from the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 22, that is Alagaddukum Sutta, saying, early and now, previously and now, O monks, I declare two things, that is, suffering and cessation of suffering. So you see that the Buddha spent 45 years of teaching his Dhamma to the world, and the whole teaching can be summarized into these two aspects. That is not that simple. So suffering can include a vast area in Buddha's teaching, and the end of suffering, path leading to end of suffering, is the other area that we can think of. And Buddha's way of talking about how to end suffering is relevant to how to overcome stress. Why do I say this? Because it's good that you may hear about stress. If you hear about suffering, you might not like to hear a talk given by somebody on suffering, but normally you would like to hear a talk on stress. I heard that if an advertisement is put on for a talk, a lot of people will gather to listen to a talk on stress and stress management. But if you talk on how to manage suffering, I think the crowd will be less and less to listen to such a talk. So this is our attitudes normally. But of course, under suffering, Buddha covers all aspects of what we talk about stress. So just like we talk about managing stress, we can also talk about managing suffering. When you talk about managing, there are two important points which are very important to remember. Any management, I also mentioned the other day, should include a key point called recognition. Recognition is very important. Just like we run a society, recognizing the due, persons, recognizing the office bearers and members of society and the patrons, etc. The same way, we need to recognize our own anger, our own emotions, our own stress, and that should be recognized wisely. So it's not just mere recognition, it's a wise recognition. So Buddha used a very particular word, dukkhang parinyayam. Dukkha is to be realized, not only from one side, but from all around. It's a comprehensive recognition, comprehensive understanding is to be done in front of all, in the case of stress. So for managing stress, first of all, we need to, if we are healthy enough, we need to recognize how we are stressed. So this recognition immediately follows another key point, that is appreciation. Appreciation. Whenever we recognize that we are under suffering, under stress, then if we are healthy enough, we should penetrate into that. We should understand, realize that wisely. And when we understand it wisely, we should appreciate our knowledge of it. We should appreciate our noticing it. Just like a medical student studying pathology, he is not unhappy to study pathology because he can diagnose a patient afterwards. If he is good at pathology, he can he or she can diagnose a patient correctly. The same way Buddha suggests, if you can recognize, if you can wisely understand your own suffering from multifaceted perspectives, from various angles, then you will be rich with that knowledge, that awareness. When you are rich with that knowledge, the next step is to appreciate that knowledge. So as soon as we recognize our little suffering, our little stress, we need to just retreat to ourselves and see, yes, I understand my suffering now. I understand my stress now. Without blaming, without complaining, against others, or just adding fuel to the fire. If we can just retreat to ourselves and reflect on our own realization, then the positive remark will be, or something important will be, that we begin to understand and appreciate our understanding. This is not that we appreciate our stress or suffering, but we appreciate our knowledge of suffering. So some may misunderstand when I mention that we should appreciate something. It's not that we are going to appreciate suffering. It's not that we are going to appreciate stress, but we need to appreciate understanding of suffering, understanding of any negative emotion whatsoever. Let us say that we get angry sometimes. We dislike certain things and we start getting irritated, and it will develop into more irritation and anger, and then we start hating it, etc. But we need to find a place or a context where we can nip it in the bud, not that we wait until to the climax, to the highest point where we cannot just cut it off. Whenever we develop a tendency in us to understand it, to become aware of it, in the whole process, towards at the beginning mostly, not at the end. Even at the end, we might have to do the same thing. But when it is at the end, it is more difficult for us to nip it in the bud. When we notice that we are irritated, then we need to ask ourselves, do you really understand what is going on? If it is understood, then appreciation should follow. Appreciation of that I have touched upon it should follow. This is very important, really. I mean, this is a very summarized and very brief note about the Buddha's teaching, but it is one of the concrete teachings to be realized in the case of suffering, to be realized in the case of stress is very important. When it is to be realized, there should be a point that it is realized to a certain degree in our capacity. We don't expect us to realize it just like an enlightened being. We can't realize it just like the Buddha would do, but we can do it in our capacity to the extent possible. And that much we need to appreciate. When we appreciate, of course, we'll change our attitudes. So it's very important to find the key to change the attitudes. Key to change the attitude is to realize first, and then immediately we appreciate that realization. Then we can smile. We can find an inner smile coming, and it will change our attitudes. While going on, I wanted to just tell you one experience that in a retreat, there was a young gentleman who complained that he could not practice breathing meditation for more than 10 minutes. I asked him, what happened after 10 minutes? Then he said, well, after 10 minutes, my breathing gets blocked. I have a little blockage in my chest. And therefore, his advisors or his instructors told him that he should not continue with the meditation for more than 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, whenever he feels the blockage in his breathing process, he should give up and he should change it. Then I told him, it was a retreat where I was conducting it actually. And then I told him, for this time, you should do something different. You should continue practicing breathing meditation even after 10 minutes. And he was so afraid to hear about it. I said, no, I would tell you the method. What is the method? The same thing I mentioned now. I said, whenever you find a blockage, you will reflect on that as a stress. You will reflect on this as a blockage in your breathing process. When there is that blocking, you may change your meditation subject into reflecting on blocking. And whenever you notice that there is this blockage in my passage of breathing in and breathing out, I now change my meditation subject into reflecting on or realizing that there is a problem, there is a blockage. And as soon as you recognize that, you have the other duty to appreciate that you have recognized the blockage. And when you have done that, realizing the problem and appreciating that you have realized the problem, and that will change your attitudes towards the whole process. So he listened to me and I asked him to seriously do this. After 10 minutes, he had the blockage. So he changed his subject into recognizing the blockage, recognizing that he could not breathe in and breathe out as he did. And that is a recognition, that is a wise attention, wise understanding. Then he wanted to, add the other quality to it, appreciate what he did, what he recognized. Then he changed his attitude. He was happy because appreciation gives you always a smile. It's not a smile that you find on the face alone. It's a smile coming from your realization, coming from the bottom of your heart. If you find anything like a smile which is coming from the heart, that inner smile should be a joy that is related from the inner quality. So inner smile and inner joy and inner happiness can reflect on your facial muscles, and you breathe in and breathe out, and you will enjoy continuing with the same process. So he managed to sit for as long as we had one session, nearly 1 hour, and he did not have any complaints afterwards. So he was happy that he succeeded. It's not only one incident. I used this technique, thanks to the Buddha's teaching, realization and appreciating the realization. goes into any way of solving problems, managing stress. Managing any problem should be led by these two qualities: recognition, that is wise way of recognizing, and then appreciating that you have that knowledge. When you have pathology, you understood, we have studied about illnesses, then you need to appreciate that you have studied. Then you can diagnose any patient well. For diagnosis, of course, you need compassion. This way of reflecting on the teachings of the Buddha, you have various, aspects connected to mindfulness. As you notice, breathing technique, the four foundations of mindfulness, is useful training that we all can practice. You can summarize it. The whole Satipatthana Sutta discourse on mindfulness, four foundations of mindfulness, can be summarized into four aspects. First aspect, let us begin with breathing. So, breathing, knowing, and calming. That could be one useful thing to remember if you want to just practice something connected to breathing as a technique for overcoming stress. So just enjoy breathing, then you begin to know it, and then you notice a calming effect takes place. Some people misunderstand that breathing meditation should be only focused on breathing. It's wrong. Breathing is just like the path. You are on that, but experiencing all kinds of side effects. When you just drive your car along a road, highway, you will pass so many, traffic lights and side posts and all kinds of things. The same way, while breathing in and breathing out, you will experience long breath, short breath, and knowing the breath, and then you will also notice calming effect, stillness. This is very important. These are all to be recognized while breathing in and breathing out. Then you find the second aspect connected to feeling. So you may enjoy the relaxed body experience where you have joy, where you have happiness. It's not only joy and happiness, you will also notice that the joy and happiness even you see holistically, that you will be overwhelmed by joy and happiness while breathing in, breathing out. And then you will notice that even joy and happiness calm down. All these are something to enjoy and that you notice with the relaxed body experience. The third aspect is then you recognize and appreciate your mind because it's mind's capacity. You will notice that mind calms down further. You will notice that you need to recognize mind, at the same time you need to have joy. You need to gladden your mind. Then only mind can concentrate. Concentration is not a stress. Sometimes we try to concentrate stressing ourselves. That is wrong. Concentration should be a collectedness of wholesome qualities. So it is a recognition and appreciation of mental, quality, tranquility. And tranquility will lead you to more and more collectedness, concentration. And that is the kind of third aspect connected to mind, mental states. All that we can, based on mindfulness of breathing, we can experience all that. Experiencing, whatever you remember, whatever you come across as you experience, experiencing all that, you may breathe in and breathe out, knowing, calming, enjoying the relaxed body experience, and recognizing and appreciating the mind and its capacity. You breathe in and breathe out, which will bring you to concentrated mind. And then again, the fourth aspect is also very important: acceptance of change, being in harmony with changing patterns. You may hear sounds, but you are not disturbed because you accept sounds. You are not disturbed by silence because you accept silence. World is full of sounds and silences. So within you, around you, you find silence, you find sounds. So if you begin to understand this, begin to accept that, you allow your mind to accept all this. You are in harmony with all kinds of changing patterns. Then what will happen? You will let go, relinquish. And letting go is also an advanced practice. So you can make that as a maturity in you. So these are basic instructions given in the four foundations of mindfulness, and they are all not limited to these aspects alone. There are insightful reflections connected to each and every insightful reflections. They are all of the nature of arising and ceasing. And there is nothing that we hold on to as mind acquisitions. There is nothing that we hold on to as, I conceit and speculations of me, mind, etc. So this is the beauty of these aspects. There is another, level of transforming suffering into confidence that we need to also remember, recollect. In the case of overcoming stress, this is a very important key point. Whenever we recognize suffering, as I said earlier, whenever we recognize any stressful situation, it's a very useful thing for the mind. It is a healthy, attempt for the mind to notice that your recognition, that your understanding has transformed you into confidence. There's a beautiful saying, trouble is a tunnel through which we pass, not a brick wall to break our heads against. Trouble is a tunnel through which we pass, not a brick wall to break our heads against. Very important saying. So whatever trouble it is, if we consider that as a process through which we go, you enrich yourself. You enrich yourself with your qualities, with your experiences. So all these should be understood along that line. So Buddha in the Upanishad Sutta of the Samyutta Nikaya, you find Upanishad means dependent, transcendental dependent nature, transcendental dependent arising. What is this transcendental dependent arising? Suffering you change into confidence. How? Through understanding suffering, through understanding your own emotions, your negative emotions like anger, jealousy, fear, sorrow, whatever. If you can recognize them, they will immediately change your attitudes. Then you will develop your confidence. That is what we say, trouble is a tunnel through which we pass. It is not a brick wall to break our heads against. So this is the message given in the Upanishad Sutta as well. So Upanishad Sutta is not limited to this particular worldly nature. It is actually very supramundane. It is a transcendental nature until we reach the final bliss of Nibbana, final attainment of end of suffering. So therefore, we need to understand that they are all we need to benefit from these teachings, but they are so useful for the whole journey, samsaric journey, to end suffering of the samsaric journey. So this is this is one particular aspect. Then when we develop your confidence based on your experiencing suffering or stress, when you experience suffering, either you can hate it or you can develop insight into it. So if you're wise only, you will have the second option. If you recognize it, and then you will appreciate your recognition, there only confidence develops. When confidence develops, you find a positive journey starts. Whenever you have confidence, you find delight. Whenever you find delight, you find joy. Whenever you find joy, you find rapture. Whenever you find rapture, you find happiness. Whenever you find happiness, you find tranquility. Whenever you find tranquility, you find vision and knowledge. And there you concentrate. Whenever you deepen your concentration, further knowledge and further vision will develop. And that insight will bring you to put an end to suffering along the line of, eradicating all defiling tendencies. There we find liberation. But of course, we don't need to wait until we reach that level. We need to benefit them as our path. Even the other day, I was mentioning there is no path to peace. Peace should be the path, and that we should walk. When we walk the path of peace, we don't need to wait for the target. Normally, people talk about target-oriented, methods, but Buddhism talks about path-oriented methods. I think we need to reflect on that as well. Path-oriented. That means path of peace. It's not path to peace. It is a path of happiness that we walk. It is not path to happiness. That means that happiness must be in the here and the now. By recognizing stress, what happens? You will have peace. And that we need to enjoy in the present moment. Otherwise, we work in society, in office, or in our various troublesome society. We are bothered by all kinds of. Sometimes we are told that we should smile and we should show happy face towards others. Do we have that happy face? Do we have that smiling face all the time? If it doesn't arise from our heart, from the bottom of our heart, we cannot create a smile. Of course, we can create it. Then it will be a kind of a burnout. We are leading to a burnout. That is not recommended. That is where sometimes some psychologists want to talk about compassion fatigue. Actually, it is a wrong combination. We cannot say compassion will become a fatigue. If it is a true, genuine compassion that is developed from your heart, then it will be something pleasant, something with awareness, with insight. That compassion should be selfless joy that we accumulate. Selfless joy, altruistic, practice. It's not only for myself or others. So it comes from the heart, and that is a genuine emotion, and that is a true compassion. Compassion should always go with wisdom. That is why we say Buddha is an embodiment of great compassion and great wisdom. So we need to benefit from those values. Then we know compassion is a practice, genuine practice. It's a sublime quality. We should not make it a fatigue. We should not make it a tiredness. We should not make it like burnout. Even in a burnout situation, we need to know it is suffering for us to realize. Whenever we realize it, we should not compare our service with money. We should always employ some wholesome quality with whatever we do. Whenever we bring wholesomeness into what we do, we really can enjoy without comparing our work and money. We don't compare our work and time. Of course, time we have to follow. Money we may need for living, but that cannot buy everything. Our joy is beyond there. So we need to bring wholesome quality into whatever we practice. The other day I was talking about how to make the kitchen the Buddha house of the Buddha. So if we have these sublime qualities that we always practice, that we should practice, as Buddha said, they are limitless, boundless qualities that we should practice. They are called sublime qualities. If we can bring them into our jobs, what will happen? We plant the seeds of loving kindness, metta. By practicing it without comparing with others, without competing with others, without having a big kind of target oriented mind, we enjoy the present moment of attending to our work obligingly. When we are obliged to our duties, whenever we are obliged to our duties, we will do them enthusiastically. So, being obliged and being enthusiastic in whatever we do, no matter what we gain. Maybe we may work a little beyond the time, maybe a little less, doesn't matter. Sometimes our bosses might not mind it very much because they will recognize you are so happy. It's a useful, character for the work, as well as you may even do something more than you uh, others might expect you. You may do a little extra even, but you are not tired because you concern the job is your duty and you do it wholeheartedly without concerning about the time and the money, but you bring wholesomeness into it as a selfless characteristic. You don't need to talk about it, but we can, bring this quality in what we do. Then we will not be burnout. We will not be tired of what we do. A smile is not going to show others, but smile is in the heart. So let the smile will overwhelm your muscles, overwhelm your cells in the body, and that will make you energize. That will make you healthy. And loving kindness is, Buddha said, is a boundless practice. There's no limitation. You remove the boundaries and you practice in your capacity. And compassion, karuna, is another boundless practice. You remove the quality, your boundaries, barriers, and you practice it for the good of others. I would say the community feeling is possible only if you have these sublime qualities. If you feel for yourself and for others, you do apply loving kindness and compassion. And then appreciative joy must follow. Normally, when you see others' success, you may feel a little jealous of others, because that is the human tendency. If others are successful, you may feel a little jealous. But of course, we need to recognize them. Whenever we recognize, we don't need to regret. We don't need to see, oh, it's a defeat. No, it's a practice of seeing suffering. It's a practice of seeing our own problem in the mind. Whenever we touch upon that, appreciate that you have that knowledge at least of yourself. And that knowledge should be appreciated by your own mind. That appreciated joy is not only working for others' success, but your own success will be appreciated. So you can appreciate both your success as well as others' success. Rather than your success, you may appreciate others' success. So you will be conditioned by this appreciative joy more. Then equanimity. Whenever you have equanimity, that is upekha. In the Pali language, upekha can be analyzed into upa plus ikka. Upa means closely, ikka means seeing. If you can develop your insight, it's a penetrative, insightful seeing. And that insight, that sort of awareness, is the quality connected to equanimity. It has mental balance, it has in depth recognition, in depth value of being aware of yourself and your problems, etc. So, when you are enriched with these qualities of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity, what will happen is you will be blessed by them because you are conditioned by them. In the teaching of the Buddha, there are many references to stories during the Buddha's time. Some people came to the Buddha with a lot of stress. Some people came to the Buddha with some anger. Some came with poverty. Some came with, various tragic, experiences. Maybe we all remember how one lady lost her only son, and she even was so upset that she would not believe that the son had died. So she carried the dead body, Kisa Gautami, and she came to the Buddha. Before she came to the Buddha, she went to so many other people, and then they put the, they said that, the son is dead, no medicine for such a person, such a dead body. Then they, guided her finally, however, to the Buddha. So Buddha said, yes, I can give you medicine. See how empathy, he practiced a lot of empathy. Otherwise, Buddha would have said the same thing, that the body, you can't cure a dead body. But Buddha didn't say that. Buddha said, well, I would give you a medicine. She was so happy to, trust the Buddha. So Buddha gave her a very psychological medicine. What is that? Buddha asked her to go in search of, or go to houses and ask for a handful of mustard seeds. But the mustard seed should not be accepted by any house, from any house, if somebody had died in that family. So she went to houses, asked for mustard seeds. Almost everybody had mustard seeds, but when she asked the second question, many people had died from that family. And then she went to another house, another house. Finally, she recognized, she realized, my son must have been dead. So Buddha gave her a good treatment. Then she understood this eventually. It needs time. And she went to the cemetery and left the baby there, went to the Buddha, and she asked for ordination. So the Buddha gave her ordination. She became an enlightened nun eventually. So this is the quality of empathy. So when we come across people, our friends in society, with depression, with various problems, anxiety, tension, etc., we need to have empathy, empathy towards them. Not to just tell that you cannot give medicine, but you could give medicine. You could give the helping hand. Give her or him the confidence that you are with him, with her, that you are ready to listen to such a person, and so on. And these ways of behavior will help society quite a lot. So I think with so many incidents you may come across along these lines from the teachings of the Buddha, various references to stories. If I summarize what I said now in brief, whatever suffering, whatever stress level that you come across, recognize that. Recognize that wisely, and then appreciate your recognition. And that will be helping you to change your attitudes. Even when you are angry, irritated, recognize that you are irritated. Then no need to wait for others to solve the problem. You can just change your attitudes by appreciating your knowledge of anger, your knowledge of irritation. That will help you to think in a different manner, from another angle. That helps you, that will help you to overcome the problem to a certain degree. Of course, it doesn't mean that if you are so depressed, you should not consult a doctor. Of course, we should also, those who give counseling, etc., would always guide people to psychiatrists if they are, if they are to be guided. Sometimes we may come across situations where we are so depressed, we are overcome by all kinds of problems, and then if we are so worse, in a worse situation, then you may need to consult a counselor. You may need to consult a psychiatrist even. You may have to trust such people and then benefit from their supports. Then I think stress management is not for us to completely overcome stress, but it is to manage stress. Then only we'll be successful in our way of managing stress and managing our emotions. In our daily life, of course, we come across such a lot, so that you find a way out of stress without any difficulty. So, with this note, with this brief introduction or reflections on the way to manage stress and emotions in daily life, I conclude my simple talk, thanking you for listening to me, and may you all benefit from whatever the notes that I made, whatever the teachings that I brought in. May you all be well and happy. If you have any questions, I would like to uh, see what questions you may have, and we may have some more discussions depending on your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Sumana. I also picked up a few very good tips, and especially like the very practical one you shared about recognition and appreciation. At
That's
least,
useful.
I think that is one of the key ones. Like because day to day we got a lot of challenges. So I think immediately when we have a new challenge, a new emotional state, unwholesome or wholesome, especially unwholesome one, which bring us pain and stress and suffering. I think what we are saying is recognize, appreciate the fact that we're able to recognize, and then the reframing of mind also upon the recognition and appreciation and letting it go.
Changing, changing the attitudes, yeah,
Indeed.
positively. Wonderful. That's that is the correct summary that you have made. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also more inspired now to uh, practice. I think it's also a lot of mindfulness, not to put a separate time, but is to be throughout the day. We have this kind of thinking and mindset.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, that is a good point actually. Yes. The whole life and whole work is our meditation. We should not just say, I want to meditate just for 10 minutes. No, the whole work should be meditation. That is what I said even last time. Your kitchen is your place of, the Buddha, because the qualities of the Buddha should be practiced within your cooking, within your, kitchen. When you clean your house, it is your mindfulness you practice. So it is mindfulness meditation. So you can practice mindfulness and enjoy that. You need to create that joy, change your attitudes towards what you do, and then your work will be your meditation. Then we don't need a special time for meditation. Of course, for samadhi bhavana, samadhi meditation, concentration meditation, you may need some half an hour sitting or something like that. That is to energize your concentration. But it doesn't mean we should limit meditation to concentration alone. We should make it holistic, mindfulness, loving kindness, and all these qualities should be together with whatever we do. Thank you.
thank you. I also really like you mentioned about the four Brahma Viharas and how we should view work in that sense also. Yeah. So it doesn't, we don't get like burnout. And I think a lot of times, apart from doing work, we also made the situation worse by having a lot of unwholesome thoughts. So it become really stressful. So rather
Yeah.
turning it around
Mm,
uh, and have the four Brahma Viharas, I think it
wonderful.
helps us own the work without too much stress.
Yes. Actually, the saying that I quoted, like, trouble is a tunnel through which we pass, not a brick wall to break our heads against. It's a useful saying, and I think everybody can remember it. It's an old Chinese saying, actually, translated into English, but it is very related to Buddha's teaching.
Okay. Dr. Sumana, if okay, there are not many questions coming from the audience, but actually, I have a question.
Sure.
It's actually regarding one of the slides. So, Dr. Sumana, actually, I believe you have something to share on this. Maybe you can. We have some minutes here. So, are you able to share on the
Yeah.
5 steps, step by step, suggested in the Vitaka Santana Sutta for managing and overcoming negative emotion? So
Thank
I
you.
have got
Thank
all
you.
the steps. I will run through the steps. I thought it'd be good for the
Yes.
audience.
Yeah, I can remember them. If you want to run, I don't mind, but I can remember all the five factors.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, they are useful. Buddha says, especially Buddha, told these factors to the venerable monks who were practicing, because if they are emotionally upset, lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, and delusion. These are the summaries of all kinds of negative emotions. Positive emotions are like loving kindness, compassion. These are all helpful, appreciative joy, etc. But negative emotions can overcome us, and we become victims of these negative emotions. If we become victims, of course, we go, from stress to depression, and even worse than depression. And therefore, Buddha wanted the monks to be careful. If they are continuously attacked by anger, lust, or any deluded attitudes, then Buddha said, first you need to try that. You need to change the emotionally disturbing subject into another that is wholesome. So, whatever the emotionally disturbing subject you select or see, maybe a person whom you are angry with, you are angry at somebody, and you may get disturbed by such a person. Then, what will happen is you may replace that attitude or your thought just reflecting on good qualities of that particular person. Then you may change your anger into loving kindness. If something disgusting is happening, you may replace it with something like you want to help with. You are compassionate. You are compassionate. You want to replace that disgusting attitude as something that you reflect on, so that you don't have any uh, uh, anger against it or hatred against it. You just leave it as it is or accept it as it is, just like a doctor, helping a patient. However sick the patient is, doctor is not just ignoring. If a doctor is practicing correctly, he will have compassion, and that sort of changing the attitudes, changing the subject into something wholesome. So that is the first item, in relation to whatever it is. Anger can be replaced by loving kindness. Your lust or attachment can be replaced by repulsive attitudes or something connected, and realize, you can make you realize how things are. Then you may not get attached to something. You can let be, let go, etc. Failing this, number one, Buddha said to monks, failing number one, you should not just give up. You should go to number two. Number two is closely examine the related danger. If it is anger that becomes worse and worse and makes you upset, then you need to recognize the danger behind it. Even lust or anger, any other stress, whatever it is, if it is something that disturbs you, makes you upset, you need to recognize the danger behind it. And that recognition will help you to overcome it. There are some similes in the sutta, of course. It is like when you are well dressed, you are ready to go somewhere, all of a sudden a dead serpent will fall on your shoulder. You may have a disgusting attitude and you will remove it so quickly. The same idea you may remember. Yes, I want to just examine the related danger, therefore I can just, feel like getting rid of it. So that is the second attempt. This is to suggest, actually, when you have an emotionally upset situation, if you are attacked by a stress or a depression or whatever, then we should not just have one method or two methods. We need to develop various methods and follow several methods, so that our attitudes and our mood will change slowly without our knowledge even. That is the idea behind it. So closely examining related danger will help you to change your attitudes towards what you are troubled by. So failing that, if you are not successful with that, you may go to the third step. Third step is not to recollect, not to reflect on the disturbing object. Forcefully, or purposefully, you forget it, and you try to, you know, forget it and just turn other way around to the problem. And that way, it's like you know, a person who is ready to go somewhere. He always a sudden determined. No, I don't go. Turn back, change the journey completely. And the same way you respond to your emotions. I change it. I don't want to recollect. I don't want to remember that. And that sort of attitudes you maintain. These are different attempts. These are attempts like when you are troubled by something, you draw a picture. You drink a cup of water. You go outside and breathe. Deep breath you take. Breathe in and breathe out deeply. You walk along a meadow, go to a flower garden, just a botanical garden, spend some time there and enjoy the, sceneries. And just talk to some friends if you find some close friends. Just talk to them, visit some friends, and so on. There are various ways to change your attitudes, but one has to be wise enough to change the attitudes like that. So don't recollect and reflect on whatever disturbing as a disturbing object. Then that is the third one. Failing even that, you should go to the fourth aspect. See the Buddha's suggestions. One, if you fail, you go to the second. Failing with the second, you go to the third. Failing with the third, you go to the fourth. Then the fourth is paying attention to the depressive nature. That means containing nature, the ceasing nature of the thought process. Because you have made some effort now already. Your negative emotions are now subsiding. They are becoming weak. They are depressing, depressing in the sense containing, and they are ceasing. That ceasing nature you recognize. So paying attention to the ceasing nature of the thought process will help you to overcome that. And that is like when similes are given in relation to all these numbers in the discourse. This is the discourse of Vitakasantana Sutta, number 20 of the Majjhima Nikaya, if you want to read it further. Middle length sayings, number 20 is Vitakasantana Sutta. And that sutta has some similes, some more details are there. In relation to the fourth one, Buddha says, if you just go somewhere, you may walk fast and you may question yourself, why should I walk fast? I should run. And if you run, you will question yourself, why should I run? I should stop. Why should I stand now? I should sit down. And you can just, keep going by containing nature, finding the thought processes are subsiding, and you will help support the thought process to subside. And that way, kind of a depressive nature of your thought process will help you to overcome even that emotional problem. And failing that, the fifth one is not a very pleasant one. That is, of course, Buddha would not say that you should suppress, etc. This is a way of suppressing anyway. That is, if you can let such a thing last for 4 times, you worked hard to overcome a problem for 4 times, then Buddha would say, you have to have a stop somewhere. So the fifth level is something with which you will apply your physical and mental force and stop it. So stopping it, you make it, you can just, develop your kind of stamina, your energy. You can make use of your, bodily strength, and you can ask yourself, am I a human being? Am I not a human being? I should stop this. Why should I be that weak? And that sort of questions you can ask yourself, and make a fist and press your tongue to the upper palate. According to the sutta, it is said like that. And clench your teeth and stop it. This is not a way, this is not the number one. This is the final. So this way, Buddha suggests to monks, you should have a kind of a way to conclude the emotional problem. Emotional means if it is anger, there should be a stop of that anger. If it is an irritation, there should be a stop of it. Whatever it is, even lust, attachment, kind of a deluded mind going astray, there should be a way to stop. Sometimes it is natural that we may get caught by some flattery words of some people. Sometimes, in the business world, you are invited to this or the other, and finally you don't know, you are caught. Then you need to, give thoughts. First, I got caught. Second, I got caught. Third, I have got, I've been now caught. Now I don't want to hate anybody. I determine. No. Now I want to stop with it. And then you have loving kindness towards those who encourage you to, such a thing. At the same time, you, through your recognition, through your awareness, with insight, you will say no. And that sort of attitude we must have. We can't say yes all the time. We have to remember that at a certain time, we have to have that ability to say no. No doesn't mean that we hate somebody or we make somebody angry, but we need to find our limitations with kindness. It's a kindness towards ourselves and kindness towards others. But we need to have a correct judgment. If it is a wrong judgment, we may be in trouble. Therefore, it's very important to, give some thoughts, have some experience, and then come to a conclusion. And then that is to say yes or no. That is the final of these 5 points. Thank you for asking this question, Caroline. I think it is a useful way of reflection.
Thank you, Dr. Sumana. Of course, I gain a lot, and I believe the audiences too, in terms of tips that we can practice. The 5 steps, very practical, step by step.
Thank
And
you.
I suppose I could share this, this is some of the insights from your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is also important. We normally begin to hate, whatever we call rubbish. Whatever rubbish we have, like greed, hatred, jealousy. Of course, they are all rubbish, but we need to, know how to make them an insight. We need to know how to make compost. When we throw away rubbish, they will never become compost. If we can collect the rubbish from the kitchen and make some, heaps of rubbish and, close it and put some water, and we know how to make compost out of it. If you make compost, what will happen? They'll be useful for flowers and vegetables. You can make flower gardens, even vegetable gardens, because of this rubbish, but they are turned into compost. The same way, we need to look into our own problems, our own greed, our own jealousy, our own, you know, difficult problems within. Greed, hatred, and delusion are the basis of all this. And if we can recognize them, touch upon them, then we notice they will begin to turn out to be insight. So that insightful arrangement, insightful development, changing our attitudes positively will help us to enrich our heart and head. Heart and head should always go together, with which we can help each other in society. Thank you for reminding me of this analogy, allegory as well.
I have one last one, Dr. Sumana.
Yes, yes. Half a smile, yeah. Half a smile, I say in my slides, yes. Half a smile relaxes the stressed muscles on the face, on our face. So we need to know how to smile. But smile should not be just on the face alone. We need to always remember that the smile should be an inner smile. It should come from the heart, is an honest one. And that honest one cannot arise without recognizing deeply, deeply understanding, deeply recognizing any problem will give us an insight, will change our attitudes with which we can smile. Then, of course, there is a kind of encouragement that every day, if we remember this, we can go to bed with a smile in the heart. And the smile in the heart doesn't have to show to everybody. It can be that we can feel ourselves. Every night, if we can just go to bed with a smile and get up in the same mood with a smile, it doesn't cost anything. It will help our heart and head. It will help our health. It will energize our cells all over the body. Energizing the cells and overwhelming our whole body with healthy qualities, wholesome qualities, can make us smile genuinely, honestly, from the bottom of our heart. So, experiencing that joy and happiness, relaxing the mind, tranquility, concentration, all will produce an inner smile. So, maintain your half smile every day, before going to bed, especially, and whenever you wake up in the morning. And if you can maintain that, you can extend it throughout the day to your jobs, even after your job, while working, without competing with others. And these are the qualities that we need to remind ourselves of continuously so that we will be happy and we can overcome any stress whatsoever. Thank you very much indeed. May we all, and what is the saying? May we all change our attitudes for our own good and improve our stress related problems. That is my wish. And that is to conclude the session. And you may have some more words to reflect on transference of merits. So if it is time, you can just let me know. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Sumana, now is the time we are very grateful for the additional sharing and answering the Q&A. And now is the transfer of merit session. Dr. Sumana, we invite you to do the Anumodana.
So let us now reflect on what we have reflected on, all wholesome, and we have accumulated a lot of merits by reflecting on these wholesome qualities that Buddha recommended, and we all can feel from our heart. We know that these are wholesome and healthy for any human mind, human being. So may all human beings and even non-human beings be well and happy with these reflections. Nowadays, there are a lot of people in the world affected negatively by this corona virus, COVID-19. So may they all be free from these problems, and may they all be free from being worse and worse from it, and may they get rid of this problem, and may the whole world be free from this virus, and may all beings be well and happy. And then we can extend our good thoughts, concentrating our mind on whatever we have accumulated as meritorious and wholesome thoughts towards our departed relatives. Uh, all those who have, the brothers and sisters who sponsored this Dhamma talk today, may they also benefit and may they also transfer merits to their own departed relatives. And at the same time, as I mentioned at the very beginning, the Chief Venerable, the Venerable Kesiri Dhammanandanayaka Thera, in whichever realm he is now continuing with, may he be well and happy, may he continue enjoying his life in whichever form of life he is now continuing with. May he benefit from whatever we reflected on, as I know him personally so closely, and he was so, he was a very useful inspiration for my life. So he knew it, and we were so close to each other that way. So I can heartily, from the bottom of my heart, extend my meritorious thoughts towards his well-being in whichever form of life he is continuing with. The same way, may your relatives, may your family members, may the venerable monks in the temple, others who support the Vihara, Mahavihara, all the members, friends, brothers and sisters, may they all be blessed by these reflections of the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And I now chant a few verses just to extend our loving kindness and blessings for all of you. May you be well and happy. Idam me jnatinang hotu sukita hontu jnatayo. Idam me jnatinang hotu sukita hontu jnatayo. Idam me jnatinang hotu sukita hontu jnatayo. May all devas benefit from what we have reflected on the Dhamma. Akasattha ca Bhummattha Deva Naga Mahedika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Lokasasanang Chirang Rakantu Desanang Chirang Rakantu Te Mang Sada. The final aspiration for the good of everybody, and may all other beings attain the final bliss of nirvana. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo sadang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idam me punyang asavakhaya vang hotu sabba dukkha pamunchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dr. Sumana, on behalf of the Mahasangha and management of the Buddhist Mahavihara, we wish to express our appreciation, gratitude, and thank you to you for the sharing of the very good Dhamma sharing session tonight.
Thank
Um,
you.
sponsors for this Dhamma sharing and viewers who have listened in tonight. A pretty big turnout tonight. We appreciate that. And a final note, don't forget to subscribe to the BMV Dhamma Dana series YouTube channel. Thank you, Dr. Sumana.
Thank you very much. Have a
Appreciation.
very good evening and good
Sadhu,
night.
sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.